Well, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of text. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid text being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election. And it's the same two people that were discussing a little bit later in the text the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there? Today is Wednesday, May 16th, 2018. I'm Papa Bear, and this is What's Out There. Of course, today we've got Peter Kling with us. Peter Kling, Bible scholar. I guess everybody knows pretty much who he is. Regular man on Wednesday's show. Good morning, Peter. How are you?
Excellent, Barry. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in here. I'll tell you, I've seen some a bit of craziness this morning. You know, it's a habit I have to go through Facebook. Every morning, go through Facebook, check out the news, and see what's going on. And what caught me this morning was a hearing, a congressional hearing. And I'm watching the chat, and I'm watching, and it's like, I'll tell you, these people should suffer some of the things that they're mentioning, that they're asking these people to do. They don't have a clue, they're totally clueless, and they're throwing out all these opinions. But I did have to comment. I said, you know, after watching these comments go by, we as a country, we're screwed. We're screwed. But I don't know. Anyway.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
Well,
we'll
people
see.
Are coming around. They are coming around. Eventually they'll catch on to Alex Jones, but for the most part, they're coming around.
You know, here's the problem that we face, and a lot of people aren't even aware that they do this, but, you know, we all get emotional and jump into a situation. Any disagreement, we'll take one side or the other, you know, if we feel that we're involved somehow.
Right.
And even in the political arena, even things that were not directly involved. Take North Korea. Some people feel strongly one way, some people feel strongly the other way. It was like, you know, when when Trump got into a pushing contest with Rocket Man. Now, I understood because of former employment. I was working in international markets, and my employer at the time made sure that I understood international customs.
Right.
And so I wouldn't offend the customers by being an American, you know?
Yeah, well, don't want to offend them that way. Yeah, okay.
And, well, you know, there's certain protocols that certain countries have, especially Japan. Japan was very economically intense in my territory, so to speak. And learning their customs, their business customs, was very important. There's a whole protocol just to a business card exchange. And, okay. You know, it's funny, after I learned these things, I was setting up, I was actually working with Nissan Chemicals, a division of, you know, the Nissan Auto Company.
Right, yeah.
And I had the protocol training, and I was doing everything, and they loved me. They absolutely loved me because of, you know, I was speaking their language. And in comes another sales group, and they're just, you know, have no idea about what they're doing. And I'm watching, you know, they're just being the typical American, hand out business cards, take the other business cards, put them in their pocket, never pay any attention. And I'm like, wow, yeah. Okay, it's a good thing that I'm helping these guys. Otherwise, they wouldn't get any business here.
No kidding.
Now, yeah, so when you're negotiating business, when you are dealing with a group of people, it's very important not necessarily to speak their literal language, but to interact with them on a level that they totally comprehend
Right.
and feel comfortable with.
Interact. That's the key.
Yes, and you see, with North Korea, the Koreans are some of the most toughest negotiators on the planet.
They are.
And you're gonna, if you're going to approach North Korea, you better approach them from a point of we're gonna annihilate you if you don't come to the table and talk.
Okay.
Hell,
Well,
now you just use the stick and the carrot.
right. Well, we've had a stronghold in North Korea since '53. And I think the reason why the smiles and handshakes and the no conditions release and all that stuff is, that mountain that went down because of nuclear testing? Was it, in fact, because of nuclear testing, or something else
Oh,
happened?
come on. When you can dissolve a mountain from space.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys want more? We'll give you more. But there's your nuclear test site. Oh, you had an earthquake. Too bad.
Oops.
Would you like to have an earthquake throughout your whole country?
Ooh, what happened up on the mountain? Huh. Geez, how unfortunate, huh?
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah.
So yeah, that leads us to another situation that we're facing now, and it's just that the world has absolutely no clue. It's like walking through the woods and there's a bear trap up ahead.
Well, no.
And you're headed right for it.
Yeah, but it's the atheist trap.
It
really
yes,
is.
yes, it absolutely is, or it's based on that, but it's based on people's ignorance. It's based on our lack of knowledge and comprehension about what's going on in the world around us. It's like we take one side or the other in a fight. Let's take the president.
And that's the problem right there.
Yeah, you see, we're not working together.
Right.
It's when we start to work, it's when we comprehend what the situation is and then start working together toward that goal, we'll have success.
Or
you can't have anything else but success.
Right. Or find out where the miscommunication is. I mean, there has to be something in someone's set of facts that's wrong. That's why we collaborate. That's why we talk things out. It's like, well, I don't know. There must be a mix-up in messages. This is what I got. What do you have? Compare notes, right?
Well, you see, I'm very clear about the messages because I don't follow the political messages. What I see is I'm looking at biblical prophecy, biblical history, watching history repeat itself now at the most critical time in ever, because it affects all of us.
Right.
People say, well, what are you talking about? The 2 days after Trump was elected president, actually, the election was on the 8th, so we didn't know until the 9th that he was actually president. And on the 10th, the Sanhedrin, the Jewish High Court, essentially, which is based, it's the religious court, not the judicial court, they approached both Trump and Putin, called Trump the modern day Cyrus, and they put out to both of them. Now think about this: Trump isn't even officially president yet; he's president-elect, and the Jewish Sanhedrin is asking them, both Trump and Putin, to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem.
Right.
They've labeled Trump the modern day Cyrus.
Yeah. And here's something else that I'm having a hard time understanding. Everybody is saying, well, there's a problem because Trump's over there, they're celebrating Jerusalem being the capital of Israel. And I'm like, stop it. He's going there to build the embassy for the United States. Okay? That's what that's about. It's about where our embassy is going. It's not about what the capital of Jerusalem or the capital of Israel is. It's where our embassy is going.
Let's take a look at this law that Trump signed. No, Trump is given the credit for moving the embassy to Jerusalem.
Right.
That bill was drawn up, if I recall correctly, under Clinton.
Yes.
And it was supposed to go into law, except there was a clause there that every 6 months the president would have to sign the clause to stop the movement of the embassy to Jerusalem, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Right.
So every president, even though it came into law under Clinton, Every
Everyone
6 months,
sits him.
Clinton signed the bill. Nope, not yet.
Right.
When Bush became president, every 6 months, Bush signed off. Nope, not yet. And Obama wasn't going to sign off on it.
No.
So all Trump did is not
Just not
sign off
sign.
on the delay.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yep.
refused to sign off on the delay, which then forced that into law, and then he signed it into law.
You're right.
End of subject. It's not like Trump did it.
Mm-mm.
Trump didn't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
Trump
not
didn't
what
do it.
he
He
did,
didn't
it's
do
what
what
he
every
didn't
other
do.
president did and delay the passing of this bill. He let
Right.
the bill be passed and signed it into law.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
every one of these presidents that have stood up and said, yes, Jerusalem should be considered the capital of Israel, or Jerusalem is where we should have our embassy, they were all liars. They all lied to the public, because if they truly felt that way, they all had the opportunity to do exactly what Trump did.
That's right.
But yet they signed a bill to delay that action. So they were all against it. Every single last one was
Yeah.
against it.
Of course they were. Look how many showed up over there.
Now, how many
4?
Democrats actually showed up for the opening of the embassy?
0. And now here's the next
Exactly.
question. How many dual citizens do you have of Israel and the United States?
In Congress, all of them. Well, no, not
Well,
quite
not
all of them, but
no.
there's a bunch of them.
Come on, where was Bernie Sanders? Where was Lieberman? Joe Lieberman? Where were all these guys that claimed to be Jews? Where were they? Or citizens of Israel, because those 3 are. McCain?
Yep.
McCain's got citizenship there too, doesn't he?
That I'm not sure about.
Oh, he would
But,
not show
but
his face
regardless,
there. Not for that. Oh.
Congress has to basically pledge allegiance to Israel when they become a member of Congress.
Oh, no. Before that. Otherwise, you don't get funding.
Okay, excuse me, before they become a member of Congress.
Right.
So if they're all supportive of Israel, why didn't anybody show up?
Who knows?
Yeah, you see,
that's
so
the puzzling
what's
part.
the greater power holding them back?
That's the puzzling part right there.
Nah, it's not puzzling. You just have to know the answer.
Okay.
You see, let's go back to 2015. We saw 2 heads of state, one the ultimate power, the other one the head of Israel. The head of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, at the end of March, stood up before Congress and spoke before Congress, laid out an agenda for them that he would hope that they would follow. Not quite 6 months later, at the end of the Tetrad Blood Moons 2015 in September. Now, the Tetrad Blood Moons were full lunar eclipses, which happened on Hebrew high holidays, both in 2014 and 2015. They landed on Passover of both years and Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year of both years. That was covered by a blood moon, an eclipsed moon.
Right. Okay.
Now, at the last eclipsed moon, we have the Pope, Pope Francis, an illegal Jesuit Pope, standing in before Congress, giving them their marching orders. He visits the White House and waves to hundreds of thousands of people. He greets America. And then he goes to where it all started, right to Independence Hall, where our founding fathers said we need to keep church out of state. And then the Pope there gave his marching orders to the American people, all to support the post-2015 development agenda, which was based on the 41-page treatise that he issued October 2nd, 2013. Yeah, I read the whole thing. And so within that 41-page treatise is disarming the world, goodbye guns, equalizing everybody's pay scale, so to speak. So if you're making $100,000 here in the United States, guess what? Those poor people over in third world countries who are living on $1 a week get to have half your money. And isn't that what we're seeing? Come on, they're bringing refugees. They're paying the refugees over $3,000 a month, almost twice as much as what the average person on Social Security is getting. And the person on Social Security is only getting their own money back.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's something else to think about. They're passing out all this money. Whose money are they passing out, and where is it going? Right? Does this force another country to use the American dollar as their economy? And now that I mentioned that, how about this thing called, somebody cited, I mentioned this yesterday, American values. Okay? Oh, I want to see American values. What are American values? Abortion? The dollar? The dollar, there's your American value. What are these American values you're talking about? Forgive me, people. I know I'm going to upset a lot of people, but I'm asking a serious question. What are they?
Yeah, what are the people's values today? I got it. Their smartphone and their materialism.
No.
There you
Sorry.
go.
That's
There's
Chinese.
American values.
That's China. That's China. No. Sorry. Try again.
Well, the reason I say that is everybody has their head buried in a smartphone these days. And the value has gone from some sense of morality to whatever you can get away with.
Western values. And I'm trying to think of in what area. In what area? I mean, look at the government. Okay.
I'd really rather not, but that's all.
Well,
That's
you
all
don't
part of the
have to,
problem. You
believe
see,
me.
now we're identifying the issue. We have discord in the country like we've never had before. Remember that one flag became very famous during the American Revolution? It was a coiled rattlesnake, and it said, "Don't tread on me."
That's right.
There was also another one
The Gadsden flag.
that showed a snake cut up into pieces.
Yes.
And it's united we stand, divided we fall.
Right.
You see, and so, yeah, we're using a snake here, and it's
Yeah, but even the
we're
AMA
actually, in the scriptures, we're actually told to be like serpents.
Yeah.
Now, it says first to be guileless as doves. In other words, to be innocent, to be pure.
Right.
Not to be infected with the standards of, or the lack of standards of, this world system that we see. And then to be cautious like serpents. Serpent is always smelling the air. Of course, they do it with their tongues, but before they make a move, they smell the air.
Right.
They feel the ground for vibration, and if there's danger, they coil up and they get ready to strike.
Yeah.
So we have to be cautious. We have to smell the air. We have to feel the very vibrations of what's going on in this country.
Right.
And then we have to act accordingly, without malice.
Right. That's the thing.
That's the thing. That's where the guilelessness comes in.
Right.
The
We don't
guilelessness
strike.
comes in. So, we have to operate without malice, and that is not the standard. The standard is to operate with malice, to get what you can, to take whatever you can from your neighbor or from other people, and to amass amount of wealth, regardless of whether it's in material things or actual physical capital, or digits in a bank book.
Yeah.
To amass it to the point that nobody else can touch you. And then once you have amassed all that wealth, the people become insects. They become cattle. Nothing more than consumers fit for slaughter.
Right.
And that's how we're looked at. Now let's go back to where we started this off. Trump and Putin, or both, mostly Trump is being called the Greater Cyrus. What did Cyrus do? King Cyrus. Cyrus was a Persian. Interesting. He the Persians teamed up with the Medes. King Darius was a Mede, and they both attacked Babylon. They captured the city without a shot, without an arrow being fired or a sling being loaded and a stone being thrown. They captured the city, and how they did it is they diverted the water of the Euphrates and walked right in under the gates, while Babylon was having a drunken orgy, celebrating how great it was. And that very night, it was captured and brought to an end. Now, if we go to Revelation chapter 17, we get a different type of Babylon. a Babylon the Great, a prostitute, a whore, who rides a scarlet-colored, seven-headed, ten-horned wild beast? Yeah. The seven heads are seven kingdoms, seven world powers. The ten horns are actually the kingdoms that ran those world powers, those world governments. Egypt, Assyria, Babylonia, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, and the Anglo-American Empire, or right now, America, because England ain't worth a darn.
Yeah.
I wanted to use an expletive, but I know that we are on the commercial airwaves now. So
It's the only country that uses its own currency. It has its own currency, its own, right?
yeah,
Pound
they
sterling.
never used the euro. It was always the pound.
That's right. They never the euro, never the dollar. It was always the pound. They've always had their own currency there. They decided to merge with the EU, and then all of a sudden there's an uproar about Brexit. What do you mean? They were never a member to begin with. Look at them. In what? Name? Name only?
Well, in the trade agreements that were set up under the Brexit, but they didn't use the euro, so no, they were really not part of the European Union. And so to leave the European Union was actually not that difficult, and something that I actually predicted would happen. We go back when Trump first threw his hat in the ring, first made his announcement for president. I said, that's the next president of the United States. And when I first heard that England had this Brexit vote going on, I said, yep, England will leave the European Union. And the reason for both those statements was written right within the scriptures.
Right.
Right within prophecy. I knew that was going to happen because of the prophecies. And the United States and England has to keep, as a world power, has to keep their identity. And for those people who don't know, the United States is still controlled by the Queen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Through her proxy. Actually, the United States is controlled through the United Nations. That's who all the office holders. All the office holders are UN. That was given to them in the Banking Act, 14 years before the UN was formed.
Yeah, well, you know what existed before the UN?
Yeah.
Was the League of Nations.
Right.
And before the League of Nations, and we had talked about this a little bit earlier, just before the show, with the link that you sent about the Balfour Agreement, which is really, I guess, at the center of what's going on right now. The Balfour Agreement allowed Israel, the state of Israel, to be created. But it was all manipulation. It was all manipulation. Before the League of Nations came about 100 years prior, a little bit more, 1815, the end of the Napoleonic Wars, they had the leaders of Europe had gotten together, and they had met in Switzerland to redraw the boundaries, and the hope at that time was to start a world government. And this was something that was being pushed by the Rothschild family, the five brothers who were controlling the banking system, because at this time they had gained control of the Bank of England, the Bank of Germany, the Bank of France. They were working on the Bank of Italy, and one of the brothers was the emissary to Rome to do their banking. So the five brothers were all there putting this together. However, when Tsar Alexander said, I don't want to be any part of your club, you don't control me, you don't control my money, and he picked up his chips and went home, so to speak, I believe it was Meyer Amschel Rothschild, said, my descendants shall see your descendants wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Think about that. Fast forward the clock 100 years, 1917, what do we have happen? The Bolshevik Revolution, which overthrows Russia and kills the Tsar and his family. Let's see. The Bolshevik Revolution was financed by who? Oh, that's right, the Rothschilds and Oppenheimers, with the Tsar's own money. Yeah, with the Tsar's own money.
Oh, my goodness. Kind of reminds you of the way governments run now. We're going to fine you. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Yep. So, but it said that also in 1917 that under pressure by Lord Rothschild, Lord Balfour writes up the Balfour Agreement, which is declares Israel the future home for the Jews. And then the king signs off on it and makes it the Balfour Declaration. Now, remember, World War I is still going on here.
The Balfour
and that,
Declaration didn't mention Jews, it mentioned Zionists.
Okay, well, let's go back to Zionists. That's what we're really dealing with here anyway, but anyway, at this time, at the beginning of World War I, the promise of the Holy Land, so to speak, or Palestine, was controlled by the Ottoman Empire.
Right.
And so what happens? England declares war against Turkey and pushes the Ottoman Empire back out of Palestine. And then, now that they have control of Palestine, now they can declare it the future homeland of Israel, or of Zion.
Right.
Now, it still takes another world war for that to come about. But at the end of the First World War, we finally get the League of Nations. And it is actually written by compromised president of the time, Woodrow Wilson, who was being blackmailed by the Zionists.
Right.
Hence, he sold out America. He sold out our banking system, and he sold out the judicial system.
Yeah.
And he actually wrote the charter for the League of Nations, but he couldn't get the United States Congress to ratify joining it because Congress looked at it as a European club and wanted no part of having to support Europe in another war.
Yeah.
Little did they know. So the United States gets its nose bloodied again, gets sucked into the Second World War, and out of the Second World War we have the United Nations. Now it's interesting. We go and we look at Revelation chapter 13, and there's this beast, another seven-headed, ten-horned wild beast, which comes out of the sea. It's the Sea of Turmoil, and it's the Sea of Turmoil from the First World War. This is the League of Nations, something they tried to do 100 years prior. Didn't work. But now they have the League of Nations, a one world government.
Right.
But it gets a death stroke from World War II. And somehow the death stroke gets healed and it comes back as this time the United Nations. Now it stays in control, but something else starts to happen. It talks, the prophecy, this is Revelation 13, the prophecy switches and it talks about this beast that looks like a two-horned beast that looks like a lamb, but it speaks like a dragon. Now, we picture a lamb. Lamb is usually a symbol of peace.
Right.
Only this lamb speaks like a dragon. So how does a lamb speak like a dragon? It means it's not a lamb. It's really a dragon in lamb's clothing. And that's where we have the United States and England. You see, when we look at what this lamb is able to do, or this second beast,
right,
it can perform miraculous works, even calling fire down from heaven. Hello, Dresden, Munich, Nagasaki, Hiroshima. Now, Dresden and Munich were both burned to the ground by conventional fire bombs, but Nagasaki and Hiroshima was fire from heaven in a nuclear manner. And I think we're at our break.
We are just about break time here. Why don't we do this and we'll come back right after break, okay? Anyway, you are listening to What's Out There. I'm Papa Bear along with my guest Peter Kling today, and we'll be back right after this.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on latenightinthemidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall.
The L&M Radio Network offers a chat room for you, the listener, to connect with others whom are interested in the topics and guests that the L&M Radio Network brings to you. During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
Why subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, and through the thousands of expert guests who have joined Michael Vera on his show, come pieces of the big puzzle, which started many years ago. Michael and his guests reveal information dating back to the beginning of time. To this very moment, Michael Vera not only brings you the best guests with the best information, but Michael is not afraid to call out those who are less than honest. You see, in this day and age, we need a radio show we can count on and a radio host we can trust to expose the truth one show at a time. So become a late nighter and subscribe now. Talk radio like no other. Late Night in the Midlands, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
There is a better radio show, beyond that which is known to the people. It is a radio show more informative than others, and as timeless as infinity. It is the equilibrium between light and dark, between the sheeple and the paranormal, and it is heard at the base of man's ignorance and at the summit of his knowledge. This is the radio show of imagination, a show we call The Secret Teachings.
Welcome back to What's Out There. I am Papa Bear, and of course with me today is Peter Kling. Big shout out to our affiliates here, High Point Radio from the top of, or the highest point in New Jersey, bringing us into New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania on 100.5 FM and 1620 AM. Also 101.7 FM WCET Columbia Talk. Wow, we're getting out there. I'm coming live from the great state of Maine and Norway, Maine. And of course, we've got Peter up here in Maine, too. Peter Kling, welcome back.
Thank you, Papa Bear. A pleasure to be back.
I'm glad to have you.
We're talking about the Balfour Agreement and you know, what's going on actually over in Israel right now. And while nothing really much happened after World War I as far as repatriating Jews to Palestine, it took another world war. And it also took something that we call the Holocaust in order to start to get Jews repatriated. Actually, It took the Holocaust and the formation of the United Nations to declare a home or Palestine or what is now Israel as homeland for the Jews. Now, I'm not going to get into the controversial end that, okay, the Jews didn't live there for 2,000 years, and it really was never their homeland because it was occupied by the Canaanites when they first entered it.
Right.
And but it was given to them by Father Yahweh when they were being faithful, and this was all because of the Abrahamic covenant, and to bring the messianic seed, which then the Jews totally rejected. So it's like, okay, what are we going to do for these people? So now here's the interesting thing: Jerusalem, primarily the temple, is destroyed twice. It's destroyed first by Babylon around 600 BC. And then it's destroyed a second time by Rome. And this is interesting. It's in the year 70 that Rome destroys the Temple of Jerusalem and the city itself.
Right.
And here we are, 70 years after the formation of Israel as a state or as a country. And it's interesting. There's a little fact going on here that very few people are aware of, and that is that Rome, or the Vatican, owns well over 60% of the land of the real estate I'm talking about, the city of Jerusalem, including 100% of the land which surrounds what is known as the Temple Mount, which actually isn't the Temple Mount.
Right.
The Temple Mount was what is called the Temple Mount was most likely the home of the Roman garrison that was occupying Israel at the time.
Right.
The Temple Mount, the actual temple was off to the side of the garrison. The garrison was built next to the temple, or I say the fort was built next to the temple to hold the garrison.
Right.
And so there is nothing left of the temple except for the Pool of Siloam. I believe it is the name of it is, and this is where the ritual cleansing would take place before they would enter the temple. Now think about this: they would have to cleanse themselves, and you're talking about thousands of people coming into the temple would all have to be cleansed before they could enter it. So it would make sense that the temple wasn't at what is considered the Temple Mount, which is too far away from the pool.
Exactly.
So the temple had to be closer. So if they really if Israel wants to rebuild Solomon's temple in its original location, guess who they have to buy the land from?
Yeah, and they're going to have to go lowland.
You see, they have to approach the Vatican, and they have to strike a deal with the Vatican. Because the Vatican owns the land, literally owns the real estate.
Right. See, what I was thinking of was the creation of Israel, how it happened, and who their people basically are. Like the Balfour Declaration. According to the Jewish Chronicle, the Balfour Declaration was born out of religious sentiment. Arthur Balfour was a Christian mystic who believed that the Almighty had chosen him to be an instrument of divine will, like a precursor, maybe, to the second coming of the Messiah. Tom Segev wrote, "The Declaration was a product of neither military nor diplomatic interests, but of prejudice, faith, and sleight of hand. The men who sired it were Christian and Zionist, and in many cases anti-Semitic. I'm not arguing for Zionism as a Christian idea, but it's a very interesting point to make. Many of the non-Jews who supported Zionism did so out of their Christian understanding of what was happening." Okay?
Now, you just hit a key point. Zionism.
Right.
Zionism is a political movement.
That's
it has nothing to do with religion.
That's right.
You want to know about Jewish religion or the Hebrew faith? Go do a Google search. Jews against Zion. That's all you have to put in. And what you're going to see is a bunch of Hasidic Jews, they're all rabbis. They are the what you would call the elite religious class of the Hebrew religion, and they totally reject Zionism. However, Zionism is embraced by Christians.
Right.
Well, go look up Christians for Zion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, think about that. How does that happen? Very simple. Let's go back to the Rothschilds. Using the Freemasons, the Rothschilds were able to fund evangelical religions in the early 1800s. And so you had all of these evangelicals coming up and all these different sects that were coming up out of Protestantism and Lutheranism. They all started to divide. So now it's a house divided among itself, financed by the Rothschilds. Then because they're all connected with Freemasonry, they all become Zionists because they're explaining the actual, hey, support our cause, we'll give you money.
Right.
Isn't that what has happened? Let's see. Israel lobbied Congress under Obama in 2011. Yeah, it was in August of 2011. They spent a record amount. I think it was like $1.7 billion lobbying Congress to support Israel in a war against Iran. And Obama nixed the whole thing. Obama turned around and said, nope, we will not support Israel in any war after Israel spent all this money, all of this U.S. money that they got anyway. So what's the difference? He said, we're not going to support Israel in a war against Iran. Big surprise.
Right, yeah.
Let's see. It was about 2 weeks later we got Benghazi.
Yeah.
And I predicted that. I knew it was going to happen because I knew Mossad was not going to take that laying down.
Okay, so think about this now. We've got China, who we're building up good relations with, right? Both Koreas, and we're trying to work on Russia here, okay? You think about this. Russia, China, and the U.S., who's going to go against them? Israel?
That's exactly what I said last night. That's exactly what I said last night, Papa Bear. I'm going to go back. Israel is asking Trump to be Cyrus. What did Cyrus do? He destroyed Babylon. If he's the greater Cyrus now, does that mean he's going to destroy Babylon the Great? Switch gears. Let's go to the deep state. How did it get planted? Through the Knights of Malta, which are controlled by who? The Pope.
That's the shadow government.
No, shadow government's a little bit different.
That's the shadow government. Well, the shadow government is the
shadow
money.
Government goes back to Woodrow Wilson.
Well, shadow government is the money. The deep state's the fear.
Okay, well, we'll go to the deep state. All those people who are trying to get Trump impeached or fighting against Trump, there's your deep state. They've all been paid off, and it doesn't make any difference whether part of the FBI, the Justice Department, Congress, they're all implanted.
Yes. I mean,
they've all been put there by the Obama administration, by the Bush administration, and by the Clinton administration.
It's evident that there has been a coup ongoing for quite a while, and putting Trump in here, where obviously he wasn't supposed to be, really messed up the coup plans. That's what I'm seeing.
And who's the head of the coup? The same person who was standing in the White House and the Capitol and right at Independence Hall telling Americans what to do. And what did that Pope do next? The illegal Jesuit Pope went to the United Nations next and told the world what they needed to do and to support the post-2015 development agenda. And so here we have the whore of Babylon riding the backs of the nations, telling the nations what they need to do.
Yeah. And then
please, Cyrus, destroy Babylon.
Yeah.
Destroy Babylon.
Yeah.
Please.
And then
what do we see Trump doing? Destroying the influence that the Pope, the head of the Knights of Malta, has had implanted in not just the United States government, but every government on the planet.
Yeah.
And now the Pope's thinking about resigning.
Right.
I wonder
bingo.
Why.
That's what I was going to say. He was the second one right after the other.
Pedophilia have anything to do with that? Child trafficking have anything to do with that?
No. What do they know?
Here's a news flash. The Pope was, when he was a priest back in Argentina, was involved, he wasn't indicted, but he was mentioned in a child trafficking case that was in the courts.
Yeah, but that's par for the course. We already know that
Oh,
stuff.
of course it is. Come on, if you want to believe the rumors of Wiener's laptop and his insurance policy, according to what his ex-wife and Hillary Clinton did, it's beyond imagination that women would actually do something like this, and we're not even going to get into that. But here's the truth: these people in power watch others die and laugh. What difference does it make now that our ambassador Stevens gave up his life? What difference does it make? I got more money. My foundation has got more money, and I'm happy. You guys can go all do what you want to do, but we're getting richer and we still control the world. So what difference does it make? Sorry, honey, you're going to the gallows.
And that's the point I'm trying to make. That if they know something that we don't know, I'm sure of it. As an example, North Korea.
Let's use this real quick. How fast did North Korea fold its hand?
I'm talking about the testing grounds. Okay.
Okay, sure. Go
they
ahead.
know something.
We'll look at that, and then we'll look at the political situation.
I'm talking all politics aside. All politics aside, there's something backing Trump. These guys know. They know something that we don't. That's my feeling.
Well, what happened to their nuclear test site? It had an earthquake. Would you build a nuclear test site on an earthquake fault? Doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
You know, if you were going to be doing nuclear testing, you want something that's going to be secure. And I don't care how backwards the North Koreans are, they still have to have geologists to be able to know where the ground is and what's underneath it.
We talked about
Come on,
this.
if they can build a nuclear missile, they can figure out where the earthquake faults are. It's not top secret information.
At the beginning of the show, we talked about this. We said that Trump went down and he had negotiations, and then something happened with their testing grounds. Now they're all buddy shaking hands and smiles. Okay, what takes down a mountain? There's something going on that we don't know about.
Oh well, we can surmise it.
That's my feeling. That's my feeling.
Here's the thing: who's yelling? Who's yelling the most over this whole Russian deal? And you gotta love it. Stupid Mueller. He turns around and his team indicts a company that didn't even exist. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Talk about grasping at straws.
Yeah. Well, see, the whole thing was he didn't think any of them were going to show up. Okay. One shows up. One didn't exist. Okay. Well, now he's got problems anyway, because the one that said they were going to show up, they're going to show up.
Yeah, and they're going to want discovery.
And I think they put the brakes on that too.
Yeah, they dropped the case, from what I understand. They quietly dropped the case against them because, and it was stupid. Come on, this guy's I'm not an attorney, okay? But I know the legal system enough that if you're going to charge me with something, then I'm going to get a look at your evidence against me.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
My attorney's going to go over it, and I'm going to get a chance to look at that, and it becomes matter of public record at that juncture.
Right.
So Mueller is going to charge a foreign country for collusion. They show up now. He's got to give them he's got to give them the records. He's got to give them all the sealed, everything that's been sealed, all this stuff that's been redacted. It's got to be all unredacted, and it's got to be given all to into the courts, and then it all becomes a matter of public record. How stupid can you get?
It's a dog and pony show, even with Gaudi.
Absolutely.
Okay, I've got King Gaudi on my opening theme here. Okay, and my closing themes, whatever. Gaudi, he says, we had a productive meeting and we're going to have another productive meeting. No. Meetings. If you had a productive meeting, you wouldn't have a next meeting. That's just the way it goes. It's the way the whole thing went with Eric Holder. Well, we'll give you a certain amount of documents if you agree to let it go. And you get trickle and you don't get the best. They save the best for last.
Okay, so
let's
take a look at this.
200 documents out of 2,000, I mean, come on. This is their MO. This is what they do. They're covering up for each other in there. What's happening is they're getting enough rope to hang themselves. That's what's happening.
Pretty much. Now let's just go back to the political situation in Korea because this is important. Okay, we've got all this collusion against Russia. So the last thing that we're going to really see is Trump having Putin at the White House and them slapping each other on the back and having a good old time, like Trump was able to do with Z. And it's public knowledge. Trump's gotten along with Z. They was supposed to have a 15-minute meeting, and it lasted for hours. They're best of buds. They're on the same page. And when they were, and guess what? They all got together. Trump, Z, and Putin all got together in Vietnam. They're best of buds. Hey, hold on there, Vladimir. We got to get rid of this Russian collusion crap. We will take down Babylon the Great. The Pope will resign his position. All of this will be exposed. The pedophilia is going to come out. We're going to show where these 8 million children vanish to every year, and we're going to disgrace these people into oblivion.
Right.
And then we'll take over the planet because no one, absolutely no one is going to come up against Russia, China, and the United States. And so here at the end of Revelation 13, we have this two-horned beast that looks like a lamb but speaks like a dragon that gives power to what is called the image of the 10-horned, 7-headed wild beast. It's an image of the United Nations, but it's not the United Nations. And this image is given a number. The number is 666. It's a man's number. 666 is total spiritual incompletion.
Yeah.
In other words, it's failing. 777 are God's numbers.
Right.
Total spiritual completion. So we have a incomplete spiritual government that is going to be ruling over the planet. It is a one world government. It's not the one we were expecting.
Right.
It's the one in Revelation.
Right.
And when we go to Revelation 18, we have the horror of Babylon the Great riding on this same. It's a different color. It's a different aspect. It's a scarlet colored, 7-headed, 10-horned wild beast, and it grows another head. Another king comes from this, another government, and it lasts for 1 hour. It rules for 1 hour, and its only purpose is to destroy the harlot that rides the beast. Hold on, folks. This is going to be really, really good over the next couple of years. Really good.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be great. I'll just sit back and watch it because there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. You know, there is something that we can do, Papa Bear, and it's exactly why I'm in Maine.
Okay.
When I saw the Pope, it's standing in the Capitol telling American lawmakers and Americans what we needed to do.
Yeah.
My brain went right back to Matthew, the 24th chapter and the 15th verse, where it says, when you see the disgusting thing which causes desolation standing in a holy place where it ought not. Then in parentheses it says, let the reader use discernment.
Right. How can people catch you, Peter?
People can catch me. Join me on Facebook, Peter Kling on Facebook, or you can go visit my website, peterkling.com. All the shows from the Final Countdown, which we have Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, are archived on my website. Or you can write me, one@peterkling.com. So, and that's ONE. And so with that, I'm going to finish up with saying, when I saw that, it was time for me to move to a new location because I was sitting in a place of danger. When I saw the Pope standing in America's holy places, I headed to the mountains, just like it says to do. And so that's why I'm in Maine now. So yes, there is something that we can do, and it's take action, exercise our personal power. And with that, I'm going to say love and blessings to all. Papa Bear, thank you for having me on Wednesdays. I hope we can bring some light into this world.
Wonderful. Thank you, Peter. Let's see. If you miss a show, you can catch the replays. I put all the replays in YouTube at username What's Out There. So go there and check the YouTubes. Like, share, and subscribe, please. You can be another one of my 50 subscribers. How about that? And, of course, we can't forget our affiliates, 101.7 FM WCET, Columbia Talk, and High Point Radio, 100.5 FM and 1620 AM. With that, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Well, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of text. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid text being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election, and it's the same two people that were discussing a little bit later in the text the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there?